modern MMA fighters, still to this day, they usually come in with some sort of a base. Maybe wrestling is their base, or Muay Thai is their base, or boxing is their base, Jiu-Jitsu is their base, and then they branch out from there. Chan Sung-jung, his base was kickboxing, but you can't really tell when you watch him fight because he is more of a complete MMA fighter. So he doesn't get stuck in the mindset of, I'm a wrestler, that's what I'm going to go with, or I'm a boxer, that's what I'm going to go with. He blends it all together, and so he learns Muay Thai for MMA. He learns Jiu-Jitsu for MMA. He learns wrestling for MMA. So it's all about the all-around game, the MMA, as opposed to just learning this individual skills and these individual techniques. He puts it all together, and that's what makes him able to really go with the flow and change and go from the ground to standing to jiu-jitsu to wrestling to all these different things, and he combines it really well. I think that when you look at the Korean Zombie's fighting style, it's pretty evident he's very aggressive. He likes to attack, he likes to control the octagon. He likes to push the pace a lot. So he uses his striking in particular to start with, and then if the opportunity presents itself, he'll go for a takedown. He'll go with the ground game. Really, he'll go with the flow of the game, and he's not necessarily stuck in just one style of fighting, but his basic skills are really just all around. He doesn't get stuck mentally on one part of his game because he's not thinking, I have to win with my wrestling or I have to win with my kickboxing. He's able to adapt to whatever happens in the game. So if it goes to the ground, he's comfortable there. He'll go with his jiu-jitsu. If he has to wrestle, he'll wrestle. If he has to box, he'll box. And so just like with water, the way it can adapt to any container, anywhere you put it, it takes that shape. It's the same thing with him. If the fight goes to the ground, he's comfortable there. If it's standing, he's comfortable there. If it's against the cage, he's fine. So he adapts just like the flow with water and is able to change his form and fit whatever is necessary for that situation. Another aspect of the Korean Zombies game that is underappreciated or maybe people don't recognize as much is his ability to really go with the flow of the fight and really adapt to the rhythm, because as a fighter, Bruce Lee said, you have to be like water. You have to flow like water. You have to be able to fit into any container and be strong, and that's exactly what he does. In the Poirier fight, we saw a classic example in, I believe it was round 2. He went for a spinning back fist. Didn't really land, but he backed Poirier up. He got Poirier thinking, and then the rhythm changed. And we saw Poirier go for a takedown. He reversed the takedown. He went for a triangle, and then an arm bar, and a triangle, and an arm bar. And just the flow of it was beautiful. And I think that was really one of that part of the fight was what won that fight, the fight of the year. It was given that award, the fight of the year. And it was really that transaction that was just so beautiful. It was almost like a dance, really, watching that is one of his really strong points of his fight game. One of the things about being a professional fighter is you have to be able to adapt to change at a moment's notice. And this is when we saw him pull off the twister in the second Leonard Garcia fight. He could have stuck with the striking, and that's what everyone was expecting out of a Jung Garcia 2. They were expecting that they were just going to brawl until the end. It was going to be a bloody fist-flying barn burner. But instead, he pulls off a submission that nobody had ever seen in the UFC before, that had hardly ever been performed ever in MMA professionally. And he was able to seamlessly do that. He didn't get stuck in the striking. He learned, again, from that George Roop fight. He knew that he was going to have to change things. And so if the striking wasn't working, take it to the ground. He went to his back. He took his back first with the rear naked choke, but then he gave that up and went for the twister. And he pulled off this amazing submission that nobody had seen before. Being able to remain calm for especially any professional athlete, to be composed when it comes time to do what you have to do when it's crunch time, is something that not everyone can do. It's not something that all athletes have. It's a very special thing. And a classic example, we saw that in the Hominick fight. Right off the bat, Hominick, right after the glove touch, comes in with a swing, and the Korean Zombie doesn't get flustered, he doesn't get excited, he steps back, he throws a punch, and he knocks him out in 7 seconds. Breaks the UFC record. And I think another classic example in the Poirier fight, we also saw this. There were a couple of times when Poirier had the Korean Zombie against the fence. And he's looking around, he's listening to his coach, he's looking at the clock. He looks bored. He's so calm. He looks like he's bored. And that's a really special ability to have as a fighter. Chan Sung-jung has what we call the killer instinct. He knows when to turn it on. He knows when to go in for the kill. And I think that, especially in this fight against Aldo, we first saw it when Jose Aldo fought Mike Brown in the WEC for the championship. There was a point when he was going in for the kill, and you could tell that he was very confident, maybe a little bit overconfident. He dropped his guard a little bit. He opened himself up. He still won the fight, but he shows some weaknesses. When he gets excited, when he's going in for the final kill, he drops his guard, he gets confident, and I think especially in this fight, because so many people are saying the Korean Zombie doesn't have a chance, he's not going to win, Jose Aldo is going to destroy him, he might come in overconfident, and if he does that, he's going to lose, because the Korean Zombie in that situation always does really well, and he takes advantage of just the smallest opportunity. Just any chance you give him, he's going to take it. I think that one of the things that really won fans over for the Korean Zombie, especially in America, was the first fight against Leonard Garcia, because he showed that he was going to go out there and he was going to put it all on the line. He was going to do whatever he had to do to win that fight. And it was almost like he was not even conscious. He was unconscious, just going out there. And it was just will. It was willpower to win the fight. And it didn't matter if he got hit. It didn't matter if he got kicked. It didn't matter what happened. He was going to go out there just through sheer determination to win that fight. And that's something that he really has a lot of, this fire inside of him to win, to do well. There's a scene in the movie Rocky Balboa where he says it's not how hard you get hit, it's whether you can come back after being hit. And every athlete, every person in life, if you want to succeed, you have to overcome obstacles, because that's what makes you stronger, that's what makes you better. And the George Roop fight was a very good example of that, because at that point he was still stuck in the mindset of being the Korean Zombie. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to drop my guard and I'm going to let him hit me and kick me and whatever, and you can't knock me out. He was very stubborn about that. He was stuck in the way of how he used to think earlier in his career, and he got knocked out. And it was devastating for him. He was ready to quit fighting altogether. He was depressed for months and months. But what that did was it gave him the opportunity to change the way that he fought, to change the way that he thought about fighting, and to just recreate, to improve upon his game, to build a better game. He still got an iron chin. He still has the fire. He still has the will and determination. But now he combines that with more technique and more calm. And so we still have that great aggressive style that people fell in love with in the first Leonard Garcia fight. But he learned from the George Roop loss, and he made himself so much better than he ever was before. For any fighter, you always want to fight where it's comfortable. You want to fight in front of your home crowd, where you know people, everything's familiar. And that's never been the case for the Korean Zombie. He's always had to travel, deal with the time difference, which is a huge problem, because if you have fighters who really are set on a schedule, they eat at a certain time, they work out at a certain time, they sleep at a certain time, and their bodies are set to that schedule. And then you turn it upside down, fly them across, halfway across the world, you turn it upside down. It's really, really hard to adjust. And to do it in a short period of time, and then to perform at your peak physically, is almost an impossible thing to ask of somebody. But this is what they do. And so he's always the underdog. He's always the away team. Brazilian fans are fanatic. They are what the word fan comes from. And they love Jose Aldo. It's going to be a hostile crowd. But the Korean Zombie loves being an underdog. And he excels, and he really, the best of him comes out the more he's an underdog. So I think that's actually, in a way, kind of an advantage for us, because there's no pressure on him. The Korean Zombie, another thing that I think is really great about him is that he's very open to change. He's open to new ideas, to new concepts. He's not the kind of guy who says, okay, this is who I train with, and that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to train the same way. I'm going to do everything the same way every time. Recently, he opened his own gym. He left Korean Top Team, which he had been at for years. He's gone to America to train with Uriah Faber at Team Alpha Male. He trains with different people. He goes to different gyms, trains with different teams, different fighters. He doesn't limit himself to just one way, to just one team, to just one sparring partner. He changes everything. He's open to all these different ideas. And that's one of the things that makes, I think, his game so adaptable, is that he's got an open mind to different ideas and to different concepts. Jose Aldo is an incredible fighter. Pound for pound, one of the top fighters in MMA, if not the top fighter in MMA. He hasn't been defeated in about, I think, 8 years, almost 8 years. He's gone undefeated. He's been a champion for several years now in the UFC and also in the WEC before that. The guy is just amazing all around. He's strong, he's fast, he's tough, he's smart. And technically, he's almost flawless. When you look at the way he fights, especially his striking, technically is so good, it's so solid. But the thing is that you look at the Korean Zombie and you say, well, he's not as fast, he's not as strong, technically he's not as crisp, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's not going to win the fight, because when he needs to be quick, the quickness is there. When he needs to be strong, he puts the strength in. And the timing is such an important part of what he does. And, you know, Jose Aldo there's nothing you can say that he's weak at this, he's bad at this, because he's not. He's such a well-rounded fighter. He's such a great all-around fighter. But the Korean Zombie, I think, where he has the chance is mentally, emotionally, his mental strength and his ability to take advantage of any opportunity, I think, is really where he's going to make the difference between him and Jose Aldo. I think people would say, well, if Jose Aldo on paper is a better fighter than the Korean Zombie, what's the point of fighting? The Korean Zombie can't win, but that's actually not true at all. I think that one of the most important elements of any fighter is their mental ability. And the Korean Zombie has self-confidence. He believes in himself. He always has. Ever since I met him, which was like 6 or 7 years ago, he's been saying he's going to be the champion. And back then, I was like, okay, sure, whatever you say, ha ha ha. But now I look at how far he's come, and he was the one who believed in himself, and he was right. And so his ability to overcome hardships, like we saw in the George Roop fight, he got knocked out. It was devastating for him. He was depressed for months and months. He thought about quitting, but he got over it. And not only did he get over it, but it forced him to become a better fighter, to change his fighting style, to change the way he thought about the whole fight game, and to change everything really about his fighting style. And so really the mental thing, the mental aspect, to me, is what's going to make the difference in this fight. I think a lot of times people think that, well, a fighter is just like any other professional athlete. They get paid a lot of money and they don't have to work that much. But there is a big difference between a baseball player and a basketball player and an MMA fighter. An MMA fighter, you're putting your life on the line, literally. You can go out there, if you get hit the wrong way, if you land the wrong way, you can die. This is a very real possibility in combat sports that you don't have in other professional sports. And so to know that, to go out there and know that, and to overcome that fear, to deal with that, and to have the mental fortitude to really say, hey, I'm laying my life on the line to go out there to fight, is something that I think very, very few people can do. And I think that's something that the Korean Zombie does very well. Whether it's his ability to adapt, the ability to flow, to be well-rounded, all of these things are great, and what makes him, part of what makes the Korean Zombie an excellent fighter. But to me, the one thing that sets him apart from everybody else is this intangible thing that you can't point at, you can't describe, you can't measure on a chart or a graph or write on a piece of paper. It's like magic. He just has that thing that superstars have, to do the right thing at the right time, to amaze people, to do things like pull off a twister, which nobody's done before, to knock somebody out in 7 seconds, to break that record, to have the fight of the year, to have the fight of the decade, to do these things when nobody expects him to. When everyone's saying that he's going to lose, he's too slow, he's just a brawler, he doesn't have a good enough technical game, he doesn't have a good enough physical game, whatever it is, he has this ability to go beyond, to do better than what everyone's expecting him to do. It's just this special thing that I don't even know what to call it. It's like I said, it's like magic that he has, that he just is able to pull something out of the air, amaze everybody, and do what everybody says is not possible.